Welcome to 1313. Last year, our family ended a very uneventful year, just on the note of, Emma aging up into a child. Casandra and Arielle became infants, and basically they just got to have a lot of quality family time and relaxation after some of the chaos that had led up to it. This year, we are looking forward to at least 5 rolls for different birthdays, and we're going to start off in the Wood household because Marcus has his roll to age up into a child today. But first, we're kind of watching as Rosa gets her chores done, Max getting along with his other siblings, and then Marcus, we're going to go ahead and go send him to get cleaned up before he has his age up time. So we'll go ahead and do his roll now. Just a quick reminder, he needs to avoid 3, 9, and 19. All right. Since he made it, we get to watch Marcus age up into a child. This also happens to be the trader and tax collection day. Arnold did not properly prepare this year to sell anything to Trader Jacques, so he's just going to send him on his merry way and pay the taxes so that they can be left alone. Afterwards, he sat down with Max for a little bit to tell stories and just kind of talk about their day. Once Marcus was aged up to a child, he ended up going outside with Max and Rosa to have a snowball fight. Which, given the current antagonistic relationship between Max and Rosa, this is probably a really great activity for them. They're allowed to pelt each other with objects, and no one's going to get upset about it. It'll be a good release of frustration, hopefully, for them. And by the looks of it, they definitely got into it. So this is Marcus aged up. He did go from being an angelic toddler to a creative child. He saw Mina walking by and decided to go introduce himself. I'm sure that he has a vague recollection of her from hanging out, with the other kids while he was smaller, but now they're actually able to have more of a legitimate conversation, and it seems as though they hit it off. He decided to leave her where she was and go back to the snowball fight. He is still very young, and I'm sure doesn't have the longest attention span yet. Ooh, Rosa definitely missed Max, but, I'm sure eventually one of them is going to get another good hit in. Oh, Marcus was not the one to get a good throw. Whose turn? Oh, yep, he was feeling that one. Unfortunately, Brown Hen reached the end of her life during the start of the year. We didn't catch that before we could trade her for ingredients or money, but we did check all the rest of them afterwards and find out that Black Hen could be traded. Right after the snowball fight, Rosa decided to go and tell stories to baby Arielle and be a responsible, considerate child in the house and clean up the messes that she had been making. She definitely still has a more nurturing side to her for pretty much anyone in the house except for Max. The two of them, I think, just were kind of, in her mind, pitted against each other, being similar age. Marcus, being creative, is very, very happy to just have access to, drawing supplies and a small table by the window. Rosa, once again, hanging out and trying to entertain her baby sister. Max probably giving her a hard time, trying to, ask her why she can be so nice to them and not him. They decided to sit down and try to talk for a little bit, and he just even flat out told her he does not like her. So they're still not doing so great. Over in our main household, we discovered that Alma is pregnant, and we will be seeing that baby born before the end of the year. So that's actually nerve-wracking and exciting. The kids over here all decided that they wanted to tease each other outdoors in the fresh air for a little bit. Aaron ran up to his dad, who was trying to sneak off to go foraging in the evening, and gave him a quick hug and let him know how much he loves him. Told him all the secrets he knows. When Milo got back, he got to get an earful from Alma about how frustrated she is and upset she is that she is pregnant. This is not something that she wanted. And then she went ahead and checked on baby Casandra. The next day, she went ahead and started doing all of the preparations for Christmas, which will be coming up this year. That included doing some extra cooking and preparing some cupboard pantry foods and ingredient items. While she was doing her kitchen prep, Madeline came in and was able to talk with her. All the children finally were awake and hanging out at the table, talking to one another. Alma continued cooking and meal prepping for the holiday, while the children decided to eat some of the rabbit pie she made for them to have at this moment. For Christmas this year, they're planning on just having the other household invited over and just having a big family meal together. With it being so cold out and Alma not really enjoying pregnancy and probably not feeling her best, they're just going to stay indoors at their home and host this year. Milo decided that he wanted to get warmed up by the fire and stood a little too close. Luckily, all the children had their wits about them to run out of the house, and Alma just autonomously decided to put the fire out. She was not having their house burned down this year. Once they were all outside, the kids were still all worked up and joking with each other about it. Immediately, though, Aaron was ready to go back in and get back to playing. Once everyone had gathered their wits again, it was time for the kids to handle all their chores. Madeline took care of Gertrude, while Aaron and Tobias dealt with the chicken coop and making sure that all of the chickens were handled and cared for. Emmett was kind of just getting under their skin and not really helping at the time, so after chores, Tobias went over and found Casandra laying in the snow and decided to tell her some stories to keep her entertained. After a little bit, it was time to go inside and do activities indoors and stay warm again. So Madeline started a new cross stitch, and Rose West showed up for a visit, so Alma brought her in before eventually just going upstairs and deciding to work on a painting because she had not been indulging her creative side for a while. Downstairs, Madeline continued working on cross stitch after putting together some of the ingredients that her mom had left out. Aaron hung out with her while eating. Tobias decided to head back outside because he realized one of the eggs he had gathered earlier was hatchable and needed to be put back in the coop. But he was not happy about having to go back and complete that task. Before bedtime, all of the kids sat down at the table to tell each other what they thought, they were going to get for presents the next day. They all had a chance to discuss their goals and hopes for the upcoming holiday. Over in the Wood household, Arnold and Beatrice snuck outside to their favorite bush since there were so many children in the house and nowhere for them to have fun. Day 3 in the main household, we wake up to everyone having a casual start to the day, even though it is going to be Christmas with the big meal later. Alma sat down and chatted with Emmett and Madeline, while Aaron definitely was focusing on getting as much of his father's attention as possible. On this day, we will have Tobias's teen roll, so we'll go ahead and knock that out now while he does chores. Reminder, to become a teenager, he just has to avoid a 7. And he makes it. So Tobias will officially become our first teenager. So once he's aged up, he spent a little time with Madeline and then spent some time hanging out with Emmett, who I'm guessing we missed the video capture of him probably farting and then giving each other a hard time about it. Now, Tobias did age up to not only remain self-assured, but to add the mean trait. So I'm curious to see how he continues getting along with the other members of the family. So far, it seems as though he and Emmett are still really good and get along really well. It was tax collection day over in this household, so Milo went ahead, handed over the money, and sent him on his way. Once the tax collector had left, everyone started coming downstairs in preparation for Christmas meal. At any moment, the Woods are expected to join them, so Alma went ahead and made some fried fowl and a nice cheese, like a cheese tart. And so as we see, Max and Rosa are here, which means Marcus, Beatrice, and Arnold are probably outside somewhere. It's interesting that he decided to just sit on the floor over in the corner instead of going to join Madeline on the bench. But they all get to immediately hang out and have some quality time with family. Upstairs, Marcus and Madeline are keeping little toddler Casandra entertained, which Casandra, in order to become a toddler and remain that way, just needs to avoid a 4, 8, 12, or 16. Alright, so she gets to stay as a toddler. Tobias went ahead and was asked to repair the toilet. So now that he's a teenager, he can learn some handiness and start helping out around the house some more. After that, he went ahead and dealt with the chicken coop, because if he was already messy, why not go ahead and clean the coop? After that, he went back in and rejoined his household for their additional dinner. Everyone kind of just snacked throughout the day instead of sitting down to a grand meal together. Casandra found her way out towards the fields, so Milo went and got her. We have discovered now, though, that he has a limp, and unfortunately, that is going to be something that he has for the next couple of days. And with tomorrow being harvest, I believe he's going to ask Tobias to step up and start helping out with that chore when it rolls around, if he's not feeling much better. Alma is enjoying a little bit of solitude and peace and quiet after everyone else was starting to head to bed and do all their final preparations. Aaron came to find her, probably couldn't find Milo, and then he started asking questions about the baby, and she let him feel her belly. Once harvest rolls around, Tobias did go out into the fields to handle it for Milo, since he was still limping quite badly and shouldn't be putting too much weight on his leg. Luckily, with it being his first harvest season that he's really helping, it is the winter harvest and it is quite small. Not very many plants to worry about at all. Once he finished that, he went over to touch base with the kids because they seemed like they were having fun. Immediately went in and started giving them a hard time and teasing them. Luckily, it seems as though Madeline is not offended by that. So we'll see what happens with them. Once it was time to get back to doing some more chores and everyone split up, Emmett and Alma had a moment of connection and sweetness. He was trying to talk to her about, how excited he is probably for more children to be in the household. He seems to really enjoy being around all of the little kids. And he also wanted to touch the belly and feel the baby move. And Aaron was like, yes, isn't that amazing? They're just both so fascinated by the whole process. And of course, Tobias is just there, talking to them and listening in on what the kids have to say. Shortly after that conversation, it was actually time for Alma to go and have the baby. It was actually time for Alma to go and have the baby. Cassandra followed her into the room, and we discovered that she had triplets. So that means that we're going to have to roll once for each baby and 3 times for Alma. And I'm going to do Alma, then baby 1, Alma, baby 2, so that it alternates. And we'll get this over with and hope for the best. Quick reminder, Alma continuously has to avoid 1, 11, 15, and 20, since it was a triplet birth. The babies all have to avoid 1, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, 17, and 20. So we'll go ahead and do all the rolls now. For Alma, on baby Hazel, we get... All right, now for Hazel. She's good. Let's do Alma. Okay, baby Jalen. He's fine. Alma again. And we lose her. So let's try for Celeste. At least Celeste makes it. So all of the babies made it through, and we just lose Alma this year. So after giving birth to 3 more children, Alma decided to go lie down for a little bit. She did not call her sister-in-law. She decided not to call her sister over since she had so many children in the past and felt confident in her ability. But unfortunately, there was a complication, and whether it was, potentially like a placenta issue, something to do with bleeding, she awoke from her nap and passed away. The only witness in the room at the time was little baby Cassandra. So hopefully she ends up being too little for it to really leave a huge impact on her conscious memory. Cassandra was the one there when the Grim Reaper showed up to take her mom. Milo came in to take care of the baby, didn't even seem to acknowledge what was happening with his wife, unfortunately. I'm sure that will kick in later. On the upside, he is very quick to make sure that these babies are taken care of, which is going to be really important since now he is a widower with 7 children in the house and a teenager. So hopefully they managed to get by. We found Alma her place out in the family cemetery. And while we were picking out a cemetery plot, Casandra was trying to befriend the Grim Reaper on her own before heading back into her parents' room and taking a look at the new babies and trying to keep them entertained. Over in the Wood household, Beatrice and Arnold took a moment to chat, and she told him that she is expecting another baby as well. He was very excited, which makes her very happy because it's another reminder that they're on the same page, that they both want as many children as possible, and they're both really excited to have more children. We went ahead and handled Arielle and Max's birthday rolls. So for Arielle, she is looking to age up into a toddler. Reminder, she needs to avoid 4, 8, 12, and 16. And she made it. So she is going to go from being a sunny infant to an angelic toddler. And Max needs to, let's see, he just needs to avoid a 7 because he'll be becoming a teenager. Yay, he makes it. So he was an animal enthusiast, and he has now added the clumsy trait. Right off the bat, Arielle is just crying. Rosa is staring her down. And I guess maybe she was crying because of gas pain. She just had to let it out. Marcus and Marjorie being cute while their parents watch. Indoors, Arielle and Marjorie are now the 2 toddlers of the household, and they're trying to hang out and play with each other. Looks like baby Arielle wanted to be sweet to her older sister Rosa. Hopefully they get along in the future. Like I said, it seems as though Rosa just doesn't get along with Max, but I'm curious if that'll change either now that he's a teenager and maybe won't spend as much time with her directly, or maybe once she finally also ages up. And wrapping up the year in their household, Marcus decided to throw a snowball at his mom, who, being hot-headed, did not actually think it was entertaining. So that is how we're ending 1313. In our main household, we had Casandra age up into a toddler, Tobias age up into a teenager, we had harvest, we had the Christmas holiday with everyone over, and Alma gave birth to triplets. Surprisingly enough, all 3 of the babies made it, but unfortunately we did lose Alma. With that being the case, now Milo is just a house full of children widower, and I believe he would make the logical decision to just find a wife as soon as possible next year out of practicality, nothing to do with emotion. He is very clear that Alma was his soulmate, and I don't think that he expects to be able to replace that with anybody. But realistically and honestly, he can't handle this many children and the fields and potentially doing woodworking. So Madeline is not quite close enough to becoming a teenager and being able to help out, and I'm sure he's not going to rely on Tobias for all the house stuff. So that's what I anticipate 1314 having a lot to do for them, is finding Milo's next wife and seeing how that continues with the family. In the Wood household, Marcus aged up to a child, Arielle to a toddler, and Max to a teenager. We found out that Beatrice is pregnant at the very end of the year, so we will be expecting to see a new baby for them next year. All things considered, the Walter, Mannering, Wood families, I think, had a really good year. They had a lot of luck, they had a lot of birthdays, and while it's really sad to lose Alma, I'm sure that Beatrice is still going to be excited about her pregnancy and continue to have a positive outlook on her future of childbirth. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in 1314.